Gavin Meenan, how are we doing, sir?
Very well, my man. I'm fired up.
We're jumping straight into it. We've had a good
up.
conversation going already, but man, I said this to you already. I'm so excited for this podcast because masculinity, I feel, would you say it almost has a bad rap nowadays, or what's your own views on just masculinity and men in the modern world nowadays?
There's a lot of confusion.
A lot of confusion.
A lot of confused men. How do I act as a man today? What do I do? How do I behave? What's right? What's wrong? And in essence, we've been building masculinity or building men on very weak foundations, I believe. So, I mean, I think back to my own childhood and perhaps your own and men of our generation, where you're brought up in a hyper-feminized society. And what I mean by that is you're brought into a world where your mother is usually the main caregiver. I'll speak from my own experience that this is how it was for me, and I know it's been true for a lot of men. So your mother is the main person at home. Your father is out working. He's obviously doing his thing. He's serving. He's providing. But he's most likely emotionally absent and all that too.
Correct, yeah.
And then we go to school, and in school we are under the supervision of another woman, a female teacher. Most teachers out there are females.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just the fact.
Just how it is, yeah.
Yeah. So then you go into this school where you're told to sit down, shut up, and do what I tell you to do every single day for the next 18 years of your life. So what does that do to a man? And anytime this man or this boy would express himself, would express this aggression, or would express excitement, or would express whatever masculine traits, understanding that for a young boy his testosterone spikes massively as well, to the same point as it would do when he's 13, 14. This is something that's maybe not that well known. So you've got a young boy here that is already displaying masculine traits because he's full of testosterone, but of course he finds it difficult to channel that. So then you bring him to school where he's told that he can't move. He's told that he can't play, he can't fight, he can't be active, and all this stored up energy then in his body and in his mind, that has to be expended somewhere. And then later on down the line, because it's so suppressed, it begins to express itself in destructive ways in his life because he hasn't been shown a healthier way. That's through the absence of the father, through the dictatorship of a woman, and channeled into this narrow field of, no, this is right, this is how you're supposed to behave, and that's the only way.
Yeah, we're in a very female-dominated culture. What I mean by that is men are not acting as they should, because if we were, we probably wouldn't be going through this time. But there's also cycles that go with it. And you probably heard it before. The first reference I'll make here is obviously the hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and then weak men create hard times. And I think what we're going through as of now is kind of, the good times are creating the weak men. I feel at the moment there doesn't seem to be a lot of strong men, and men are not really pulling their weight in regards to where we should be, because we have to have these conversations. And this is why I wanted to have you on. I was like, this is such an essential conversation for men, for masculinity. But how can we become the best version of ourselves? How can we become the best man possible to serve not just for ourselves, but our family, our friends, the community, the country that we live in, the county that we're from? And the point, it's just, this is, a conversation I'm getting overly excited now with this. This has been a conversation I've been looking.
A lot of caffeine today.
A lot of caffeine. It's the fourth coffee as well. This is the fourth coffee. But I do feel, Gavin, that we are in that stage, like I just mentioned now, the good times creating the weak men. And we're living in a very kind of female, I don't want to say dominated, maybe dominated isn't the right word, but
female influenced, heavily influenced.
Yeah, because we're not expressing our masculinity, and it feels restrictive. Like you just mentioned there, it kind of feels restrictive. We haven't had it from childhood, maybe because the mother has just been nurturing us, which is what she does. That's all well and good. That's her feminine nature. But then we go to school, and then you got a female teacher, and then you might leave school, and then you're in maybe a female-dominated area. And I just think there needs to be more space for men to express themselves, because without that expression becomes a struggle. And this is why we've got all these voices now that we're caught up in. Obviously, you're known as Ireland's #1 men's coach, which I absolutely love, because I think I admire that, because there's confidence that comes with that, and also men should be boisterous. Men should be out there. They should be confident in who they are. For you, though, with your coaching of men, I'm going off on so many tangents here, but for you with your coaching of men, what are you seeing men nowadays struggle with when they come to you? Is there like one main thing in particular, or is there one overarching theme?
I'd say shame. Shame, yeah.
Okay.
Shame is the dominating factor for a lot of men. Shame around their identity, shame around their feelings, shame around their emotions, shame around being able to express their difficulties and struggles.
Yeah.
They keep to themselves. And before I go on, it's also important to understand that this is not the fault of anyone. This is not putting females in a box and saying, oh, it's all the females' fault, and it's, you've created this hyper-feminized society. No, it's all the men's fault, and it's all the dads that weren't there for us as children. No, it's just trying to understand that the sort of picture that's displayed in front of us right now, and trying to make some sense of that so we can become better as men today. Because I think a lot of people can get very easily triggered once I start talking about hyper-feminized, or I can start talking about toxic masculinity. It's just we're trying to understand a better way.
Yeah.
And this is also something that's lost. Everyone is so caught up in their own opinion. My opinion is the only thing that matters. And if you disagree with it, then fuck you. It's like, no, you can have an opinion and I can have a different opinion.
Exactly.
Let's discuss it so we can come to some sort of common ground. If you have a good friend, this is how friendships operate.
Exactly.
Call you out in your bullshit. They have a certain perspective, you have a different perspective, and then you sort of meet in the middle. Or if you don't agree with them, that's fine too, but you can respect them all the same. So men coming to me are usually coming from a place where they feel empty, they feel lost, they feel broken. And they often come to at the point where they've reached the bottom. They've come through a difficult breakup, or they've lost a job, or they're just waking up every single day, beating themselves up from the minute they wake up, and they don't understand why. I've got a lot of men coming to me who are in highly successful positions in work, have the kids, have the wife, have the fancy house, have the nice car, have the money in the bank, and they're still waking up and still living their lives as if they were overgrown boys in a man's body. I've had men reach out to me and say, like, I've got all this and I'm a man, but I still feel like a boy.
And what is that? Like, why aren't they feeling like the man when they're, on a mission, they're achieving great things in life, they've got the car, they've got the wife, they've got the kids. Why are they not feeling like the man? And why are they feeling more like a boy?
We're sold a lie. We're sold a lie of once you become successful, then you are successful, instead of you are already successful. And the success that you accumulate in your life comes from you. The success doesn't create you, you create the success. And for a lot of men, their self-esteem has been based on their performances. And this is very important, and this is the weak foundations and the broken foundations I'm talking about. If you reflect back, if you're listening to this, you reflect back to your childhood, the school days again, your parents, and try to remember how your parents or how your mother or how your father or how your teacher or how your coach would have reacted if you did something that was great. You had a brilliant performance on the pitch, you scored the winning goal, or you were in school and you got the excellent grades in your tests, or you're behaving well in some way, ultimately behaving in line with what they expect of you. What's the initial response? Oh, we're so proud of you. Oh, you're such an amazing boy. Oh, wow, this is incredible. Wow. Love, appreciation, acceptance, validation, praise. Flip that around. You have a bad day on the football pitch. You just don't perform well. You, in school, you step out of line. You make the teacher angry. She gets upset, comes back to your mum or your dad, or you fail that exam. Then what are you met with? Oh, we're disappointed in you. We don't want to raise you up like this. We expect more from you. And you feel that weight of disappointment. You feel that weight of rejection. And that weight is still holding so many men back from becoming their best selves today.
That is so interesting. So are they not understanding the worth that they have? They're almost leaving it up to other people to validate them for who they are.
But this is what you've been conditioned to believe all your life.
That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, I mean, everything I speak about here comes from my personal experience. I'm not reading this from a book. I'm not hearing this from somebody else, but I'm taking it from me. And when I put it out there, I get it back from men. It's like, wow, what you just said there makes so much sense. I get it now. I understand. And this is coming back to me all too frequently for it to just to be my life or to be my situation. This has affected a lot of men. Performance-based esteem is a real thing. And you take that performance-based esteem with you and you take it into your teenage years and later on into your adulthood, and you're nobody unless you have the money in the bank. You're nobody unless you're driving that fancy BMW. You're nobody if you don't have your own home. You're nobody if you don't have the sexy girlfriend.
Yeah.
You're nobody.
And how is it then, Gavin, that you help them solve that problem of what they're experiencing? Like how do you show them they're validated through just who they are? Like the only validation you really need is from yourself.
It's understanding that everything that's happened in their life has come from them. So there is a fucking superpower within them that's created this life, but it's been created from an unhealthy source of fear, of lack, of seeking validation, of when I get this, then I'll be successful. When I get this, then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
When I get this, then I'll be strong. Bullshit.
It doesn't work, does it?
Yeah. You already have all of those qualities.
Yeah. I love that, man. I love that. And for you, was there ever a phase or a transitional phase where that happened for yourself? Do you have to go through that as well? I know you help other guys do it now.
Which one are you referring to? Yeah.
The kind of, you know.
I've had a few.
But like knowing that it's here already. Everything that like.
So yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of turbulences in my life, and I could bring it back to a time. Yeah, I was caught in that. Of course I was, 100%, because it's coming from me, this belief. And went to school, went to college. This is where you need to go. This is the path you need to follow. The safe path, which is often the wrong path for men, but we can get into that. And then I have to get a job. I have to get in the career ladder. I've got to make something of myself. And I found myself in a situation back in 2008, going for a job interview after job interview, seeking this job, seeking these positions, being rejected many times. It was a time where I think it was maybe in the middle of the recession or just coming off the back of it. And anyway, found a job with LV Sports as a training manager. It was almost like a catch and grab. This is my last resort. Okay, I'm just going to go for it. Found myself working with them for 2.5 years until I was made redundant in 2010. I think late in 2010 or early 2011. And that was my fucking awakening in terms of realizing how my whole self-esteem was tied up in my performance and my job. Now, I didn't know this at the time. I'm only reflecting back on this now years later, because when I lost that job, I lost a part of myself. And I went through a process of over a year being a victim, pity party, poor me, feel sorry for me, and then soothing my wounds and soothing my shame with porn and all this fucking nonsense. But I still remember during that time, my daughter was actually born around the same time. So I became a stay-at-home dad by accident. And every single week I'd have to go to town to collect the dole, the social welfare payment. Yeah. And never in my life did I feel so worthless as a man. And even going about my day with no job and taking my daughter in the buggy, and I still remember feeling like an absolute bum. I'm a fucking bum. I'm a fucking bum.
Is it because the money that you were receiving, you didn't earn it? Is that
there's that? Yeah, I don't deserve this money. I don't have a job now. I can't find a job. Nobody wants to hire me. Again, pity party, victimhood. This is very weak mentality, but this was exposing something deep in me that I needed to start paying attention to. I was chasing the success. I was chasing the money. I was chasing the accolades. I was chasing the credit. I was chasing the acceptance. And that's all well and good, but where are you chasing it from? I was chasing it from a place of lack. I'm nobody unless I have this. It's like, no, I am somebody. so I deserve this. I am somebody, so I'm going to fucking get it. I am somebody, so I'm going to achieve this because I know I can. I didn't have that deep underlying belief.
And them words you're just using there feel so empowering.
Yeah.
The opposite of victimhood is taking control of your situation and becoming empowered. And how was it then you took yourself out of the situation of playing the victim into, like, you're sitting here across the table, very successful man, doing well in business, a men's coach. Like, how did you take yourself from where you were there to where you are now?
James, man, I wish I could tell you that after 2 weeks I decided to flip a switch and make a change in my life. This went on for the best part of a year. Now, I was trying. I had jobs. I was working in security in nightclubs. I was working in different shops. I was trying to make things happen. But again, all coming from an empty source within me, a deep, deep lack. Things started to change when I got out of my own head and I started to look at my daughter and I said, she doesn't deserve a father like this. She doesn't deserve a man who is feeling weak. She doesn't deserve a man who feels inadequate, who feels like he's nobody, like he's worthless. And I sat one day at home and I just asked myself some questions in terms of, okay, Gavin, you can't find a job. You've tried. You're really, really trying here, but it's not happening. What else could we do? So I remember reflecting back to when I was 17, 18, I got my PT qualification during transition year. I started training people when I was around that age too, but then, life happens and you get pulled away by different things. I was like, fuck, I've still got that degree. I've still got that qualification. I also have my degree from college. It's just sitting there. I also love working with people and helping people out. It's like, why don't we just put those two things together? And it was like, that's it. Right. I'm going to take action now. And the moment I decided to take action, and again, just understanding that this is coming from a source of belief, because I reflected back and I understood or realized what I was good at. I realized what I was passionate about. And that was the flip. Instead of, oh, I'm nobody because of this. It's like, oh, actually, I have this, so I can give this away now. And that was the moment when I started to. Now, again, it wasn't a 2-week process by any stretch of the imagination. I went and I printed business cards. I developed the Facebook page. I put all these motivational quotes out there. It's like, go, 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 go. And nothing happened for probably a month. And an old friend reached out to me and he said, I hear you're training now. Train me up. And that's when the ball started rolling. And it's been rolling ever since.
Change does take time, man.
It takes a lot of time. That's something to appreciate.
To acknowledge and appreciate too as well. But I think that is a powerful story because, your self-awareness to reflect back on the time of what am I actually good at? Because your mindset's so important. It's a control panel for everything you do. And the way you tapped into, self-reflection, the self-awareness to look back and go, actually, what am I good at? And then to apply that and actually to fill yourself with them kind of positive thoughts. What am I good at? That just takes you out of the whole victim mentality and puts you in a very empowering position. And talking about empowerment and disempowerment and habits, there's something I love from your own book as well, is a section that you touch on kind of disempowering and empowering habits. For men, let's start with the disempowering, then we'll come to the empowering. For men, in the world that we're living in nowadays, and there's a laundry list of them, but what are the very kind of common disempowering habits that you come across, whether it's through coaching the guys that you have or just from acknowledgement of the world around us?
Habits could probably be categorized into different sections. I mean, we have our weekly habits, we have our daily habits, we have our behavioral habits, we have our physical habits, we have our mental habits, so there's loads of different habits. Every single moment of the day you're practicing some sort of habit. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I drink my cup from a certain hand, I tie my shoes in a certain way.
Yeah.
But of course we're talking about some habits that are debilitating a man's progress and growth in life, and alcohol is a huge one.
Alcohol's massive.
Huge one. And again, you have to reflect back and understand that we've been conditioned to believe that alcohol is something that a strong man does. I mean, I come from a generation, I'm not too sure if it was also present during your earlier years, where alcohol had this very masculine essence about it.
And it does.
And
or did anyway.
The advertisements on TV and what you would see, these cowboys, these hard men.
Yeah.
And then you're also watching your father and grown men as a child drinking beer, and it's like they're
what
loud
men
and
do.
They're loud and they're boisterous and they're
Yeah.
confident. It's like, fuck, well, that's can't wait to be a man so I can drink. And then, you know, you get to the age of 18, and for many of us men, and for me anyway,
Yeah.
you get to the age of 18 and your father hands you your what he thinks is your first if only he
knew it was right.
he
yeah.
fucking knows now. What he believes to be your first pint, and he hands it to you like it's a fucking trophy for becoming a man. You are a man now. You can drink beer.
Yeah.
It's like, that is fucking toxic.
It is toxic. And that's the culture that we're brought up in, which is just crazy because I know you're a very health conscious guy as well. And I'm just thinking, beer, when you actually look what is inside of beer and how it's full of estrogen and phytoestrogens, which is killing your masculinity, which is killing your testosterone, should I say, which is killing your masculinity. I just think it's so far from a masculine substance at all.
Yeah.
And how it diminishes your like consciousness and the poor behaviors that come with it. That is a disempowering habit. That's what I'd class as, like you just kind of clarified there.
And then you make more disempowering decisions.
Exactly. Yeah. So
it's depressant. So you wake up, you're in a low frequency of energy, and then you make low frequency decisions.
Yeah.
And
do you drink much now in general?
I've not drank in 3 years now.
Brilliant.
So,
but man, I love it.
James.
Yeah.
I had my fucking fair share.
Yeah.
My early 20s, and this is also something to be mindful of as well. If I heard myself speaking as I am now when I was 22, 23, I go, fucking jackass. What's he fucking on about? Like, fucking talking shite. Like, this will only land with a certain amount of people, and it's those people who are wanting to make a change. When I was caught in the abyss of alcohol and porn and victimhood mentality, I didn't want to hear this.
Yeah.
Because it was going to expose deep underlying truths that I wasn't ready to acknowledge yet. It only happened when I reached rock bottom. And I've had a few rock bottoms along the way. And then it was a real reality check in terms of, fuck, my decisions have got me to this point. What the fuck? I need to start making new decisions here to get myself out of here. Now, again, it's not that easy, but that's...
Do you think it always comes from a place of having hit rock bottom, or can it happen almost maybe before? Because a lot of things do happen when you hit rock bottom. Because you're like, where else can I go now? I've got to make change. But like, can you...
I think you need to reach at least one rock bottom to make a change.
Yeah.
When you reach at least one, you can almost foresee the next one coming up. And then you can perhaps dodge that because you've built awareness. And you've learned lessons from the previous rock bottom. And you can sense that, something is off here. Yeah. And, I'm not in a good place, or these habits or these behaviors are causing some damage in my life. It's also important to acknowledge that this is also based on the habits that you create after you reach rock bottom. So when I've been on in probably 3 or 4 rock bottoms in my life, so I didn't manage to learn my lessons from the first one or the second one. I had to hit more. And the past also is a way to catch up and pull you under as well. And these are all tests along the way. But anyway, so every rock bottom is an opportunity for you to evaluate your life, reflect back on how you got there in the first place, and you've been making poor decisions. You've most likely been making the easy decisions instead of the right decision. Yeah. And every single time, and I've been talking about this a lot more recently, if you go against your gut, like for example, if you're in a relationship and you're committed to this woman and you're out on the town, or you're in a situation where you're alone and there's an opportunity there to meet someone new, to have a hookup. This is all happening. There's a part of you that really wants that desires that connection, that intimacy, that experience. Sex. Don't know this person. I can go there, do whatever the fuck I want, and I can leave. But then there's something in your gut that says, no, this is not right.
It's your consciousness.
Yeah.
You know it's wrong.
But you feel it in your body.
Yeah. Visceral feeling, yeah.
And so when you go against that, you wake up the next morning with shame, with guilt, with regret.
Shame. Yeah.
You've had whatever, fun for a few seconds or whatever, a couple of hours.
Yeah.
But then what are you left with? So for me, it had been a whole process of making all those easy decisions. I mean, I was completely addicted to porn.
Mm.
So deep in that porn pit. And I was completely oblivious to the decisions I was making and the consequences of it.
Mm.
And this is what I mean in terms of this conversation will only land with someone who is near to rock bottom or at rock bottom or is just deciding, no, what, fuck this.
Yeah.
I need to make a change. So, yeah, the rock bottoms are opportunities.
Mm. That's a great perspective to have.
Mm.
Like this is a new beginning almost.
Yeah.
Because you obviously can't fall any further. And I admire your honesty, man, just around addiction, because I know enough people, speak about what they're actually going through. But touching on kind of obviously porn being a very disempowering state, do you remember the times that you were addicted to porn and how you were feeling on a day-to-day basis? Because masturbation or ejaculation, or should I say masturbation or ejaculation, or even after having sex, the most life force a man has is caught up in his semen. That's just how it is.
Life force.
Life force. That's what they got.
Creates life.
That's exactly it. They call it. Is it the key in the Chinese? Ancient Chinese call it. It's like an energy. It is a source of energy. So the point I'm trying to, or the question I'm trying to ask you is: do you remember how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis? With the constant use of porn happening in your life at the time.
During the time, I wasn't acknowledging it because I didn't have the awareness, man. I mean, the awareness came afterwards, and like porn had been such a constant in my life that it just became a norm.
Yeah.
So porn became a norm, and the consequences of watching porn became a norm.
Okay.
So we're very adaptable creatures. Sometimes that favors us, and sometimes that is detrimental to our growth and progress. So I adapted the wrong way. I adapted to feeling lethargic and fatigued and brain fog, and again, it's a life force.
Were you going to the gym consistently then, or how was that for you?
The gym was probably there, but I mean, not with the same type of energy that I do today. I mean, that's somewhere else we can go as well. But I mean, up until the age of, I was probably 28 when I decided. That was after my daughter was born. I really started to make changes in my life. It was probably 28, 29 when I just said, no, the porn has to stop. Now, again, it wasn't like cold turkey. I never watched it again. I'd say only in the last 3 years, it's been completely porn free.
Brilliant. And
I'm also, this is a slight tangent, but I'm also caught up, and I've had this discussion with a friend. That's why I'm bringing it up today. Is like, is there space for porn? Is there an allowance for porn? Can you have a healthy relationship with porn? And at the moment, I can't answer that question because I'm on the verge of starting a break free from porn podcast, and my friend was discussing this with me. He was challenging me on it because he felt challenged by it.
And so what was his opinion of it? Do you mind me asking?
Well, that it puts porn in a box, and that you can sometimes open that box and use it in a healthier way.
Do you believe that's true?
I'm not sure.
I don't think it does.
It depends on the context, because this is where I'm also where the area I'm caught up with this is the porn is never the problem. It's the pain beneath the porn that causes the problem.
Yeah.
So if you're using porn again from a place of lack, if you're using porn again from a place of fear, insecurity, that's most likely going to become an addiction and a problem in your life. If you're using porn maybe to explore, maybe you're using porn with your partner to open up the relationship to different avenues and different ideas, maybe. Again, I can't answer that question right now. I actually need to take some time and reflect, because I was about to post episode number 2 in the podcast, and he brought this onto the table, and he said, well, what about this? And I'm going, oh, yeah, I'm not sure. Now, again, I can speak by my experience.
Yeah.
I know from my experience that my porn use was influenced by the lack, insecurity, the pain that I carried inside. And I use this porn for soothing, for a sense of connection that I lost in my early life. So it's all like so the porn wasn't a problem, but it was filling something up in me that I couldn't find in reality. So I found it in fantasy.
And even from, obviously that was yourself when you were at your lowest, when you were going through that and you were feeling that sense of lack, and that's why you're using porn.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you know, I'm guessing you feel much better about yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
You're you know, helping other men, which is brilliant work. I absolutely love seeing it. Obviously, you're much healthier now. And just you today, would you use porn now?
I wouldn't use porn now.
And because you feel better about yourself and you feel good? Or what's the reason for you now not to use porn?
When you choose to do one thing, you're choosing not to do something else. So
Yeah.
if I choose to watch porn and whatever, I indulge myself in porn and I have a wank and I ejaculate, as you said, that's a life force. That's an energy.
Energy, yeah.
And I've just fucking spewed it over
But
pixels in the
your
screen.
whole energy as well. That's
Yeah.
all your energy. That like the life force is such a good word for it because that's what it is.
Yeah.
You're just casting that away.
Mm-hmm.
I just think you got to internalize it. You got to keep it in.
There's a discipline that's required because
Self-control.
when I was addicted to porn, when I was going through that process, when I was drinking, when I was feeling sorry for myself, there was no fucking discipline. Again, easy decisions, hard life, or harder consequences. And then, excuse the pun. And then, so like now I don't entertain it because I don't want to waste that energy over there. I want to take that energy and I want to create something with it.
Of course.
Not to say it has to be created, I have to create a baby.
Yeah.
But that can be created, that can be transmuted into your work.
Yeah.
So over the summer, I went no fap, didn't ejaculate. I said, yeah, there's a purpose behind this.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to use it to write my next book.
I love it.
So put it into there.
Life force. That's the energy that
Yeah.
you're getting from it.
Yeah. And it just, you don't know it until you do it.
Yeah.
And I go through processes where I know fap for a while, and then I break it, but I break it with intention and a conscious reason and conscious choice in a healthy way. And then I'll dry up again.
Yeah.
and then but it depends also on where I'm at in life. Do I need to take this energy and transfer somewhere else right now?
Yeah.
Or can I put this energy into this relationship, or can I put this energy into the sex with this woman?
Yeah. And if you were to, just on the topic of sex as well, if you were to have sex, would you abstain from ejaculation as well?
Abstain, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
That's a different type of discipline now.
That is a completely different, yeah. Especially, yeah, that's so fucking true, man.
But it also takes you out of your head because it's not always about you. And this is where a lot of men are caught up into in terms of, poor me, it's all about me, I want to feel better, I want to be better. It's like, well, maybe if you just help someone else get better, it's going to have a great knock-on effect with you as well. So, I mean, all this process of self-development, all this process of becoming better as a man, it's all about creating more love and strength and resilience and compassion within you.
Yeah. So you can give it to the world.
So you can give it away.
Exactly.
It's not for yours to
and
keep.
How good does it feel to give back in life?
It's fucking amazing.
It's
I mean, that's
feeling.
stepping up as a man.
That's exactly it. Yeah, you're growing into your masculine energy.
And people fucking need that. Because there are so many people in your life, vulnerable, weak, lost.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's part of my work. I'm stepping up there now as a man.
Well, you're a leader.
Who's giving it away. I said, lads, I've gone through this shit. I've accumulated the lessons. I've built the resilience. I've become stronger. Now I need to give it to you because I can see that you're suffering. You're in the depths of fucking hell, and I need to pull you out of it.
And you can see people that lack that, I keep saying vitality. You know, when they've got, like, you know, their discipline, like you mentioned there. You're not ejaculating during sex. You're not masturbating. You're not watching porn. You're transmuting that energy into writing a book, creative pursuits, in the gym, helping other men. It's like it is. I keep going back to it, but it's so important. Your semen is your life force. And they've known this for years. I think the ancient Taoists, what they were called, they believed in this. They knew. And, like, think of it like this. We all know what it feels like to ejaculate. You're like a sleeping baby afterwards. And the whole reason I was fascinated by it, I was like, why does this happen? Why do men just, ejaculate and fall asleep? It's got to do, obviously, your hormones in your body, but one that kicks in more than anything. So if you can imagine like a graph, right, and like dopamine is up here and spiking upwards, and then you've got prolactin, which that's the kind of sleepy hormone. As soon as you ejaculate, dopamine drops off, prolactin shoots up, and that's where you kind of become very lazy, lethargic, like you mentioned earlier on.
Imagine doing that every fucking day.
Imagine doing that every day. You're going to achieve nothing in life. Show me someone that's ejaculating every day that's doing something in life. And I just think Man, I really admire your honesty around that. And it's great, you know, you've gone through and now you came out the other side.
Even if you are doing something with your life, you can do much better.
You can. You definitely can.
Because it's also understanding that, like, I was doing all this shit and I was still building a business. I was doing all this shit and I was, you know, becoming a much sought after PT in my area. I was doing all this shit and I was doing pretty well in powerlifting.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was powerlifting, probably abstaining a little bit more. But it was still there.
Yeah.
And I'm reflecting back going, fucking hell, like I could have achieved so much
more. So much more. What do you think about, like...
And now I feel it. Now I feel this energy and I'm going, fuck, I am...
Stop masturbating.
I'm fucking heading to the fucking top of the mountain here.
That's it, man. Yeah. And I love it. And you think of, like, you're a high performer now, and you even think of high performing individuals such as boxers, such as MMA fighters. They're told abstinence. You know, they're doing a camp. They normally abstain from having sex completely because they need that life force to perform at the very, very, very best. But we touched anyway on disempowering habits. I'm loving this conversation, man. We touched there's so much I want to get through, but just to give one more. Obviously, we touched on drinking alcohol is a no-no. Watching porn is a no-no. Is there anything else in regard to disempowering habits that you can think of off the top of your head?
A habit is victimhood mentality.
Victimhood, yeah.
And blaming and casting your problems out upon the world or upon your woman or upon your kids or upon your boss or upon your colleagues or upon your friends. It happens all the time, especially when it comes to relationships. And this is where a lot of men fall down, and I'm pretty sure you understand this, that so many men are sensitive to the criticism of a woman. Wow. And if you have a good woman on your side, she wants you to become better. Yeah. But for you to become better, she has to expose your weaknesses.
She has to test you.
Yeah.
She's got to test you, and she'll show you where you're going. Right? That's the great thing about a woman. She'll pull you up in your shit.
If she's a good woman. Yeah. If she's like, if your woman is not testing you, or if your woman is not calling you out on your bullshit, you need to really have a look at that relationship and probably find someone new, because it's just become fucking complacent and dull and lifeless. Yeah. Loveless. So a woman, so again, going back to the victimhood mentality, again, I got a lot of men reaching out to me. One especially this year who has completely changed his life around. He came to me and he's going, my wife, we've had a couple of babies, and now it's like she had postnatal depression, and every time I'm dreading going into the house because she just gets so angry, and I get upset and I don't want to talk to her and I hide away, and I'm going, whoa. This is not masculine, manly, strong behaviors. This is your scared little child running away from angry mommy.
Well, you can't run away. That's the thing about being a man. I want to touch on, the transition of becoming, going from boy to man. You got to face your problems, as hard as it is sometimes, because if you run away from them, they run faster towards you. So you've got to acknowledge them. And how did you handle that situation with himself? Or how did you advise him?
Well, it was a process. I think we worked together for 12 weeks. And he completely, it's amazing how much he's changed. But he took the bull by the horns. And so I helped him understand that this was actually coming from his own pain associated with his overly critical and angry mother. So he had to address that first and understand where this is coming from and forgive
his own mother.
From his own mother, yeah. Okay. Yeah. His mother was someone who he had a very fragmented relationship with, because she was in herself very angry and very critical. And obviously he can see this now as a man. He sees his mother as a man, or as the man he is today, and sees her as the woman, and she hasn't changed. And I'm going, well, if she's like that today, she was like that when you were 2, 3, 4 years of age. Yeah. If she's been so critical towards you today, if she's expressing a lot of anger or bitterness towards you today, then she was doing that when you were 2 or 3 years old as well. And she's put you in a position where she's made you feel as though you are emotionally responsible for her emotions, that you are to step in and make mommy feel good. It sort of goes back to what I mentioned earlier about performance-based esteem. Yeah. So when mommy is happy, mommy loves me. But if mommy is angry, that means mommy doesn't like me anymore. And I cannot, I'm talking from a child's perspective, I cannot live, I cannot survive with a mother that doesn't love me. I can't survive with a mother that doesn't want me. Yeah. So if you're feeling that type of rejection from your mother, if she withdraws, you're going to do whatever the fuck it takes to keep her on your side, which means living your life based on what mommy expects of you, keeping her happy. And if she gets angry, and she may blame you for her anger, which happened a lot in this generation. Oh, you made me angry.
So the coping mechanism is to run away from that anger and be out of sight.
The coping mechanism, because the coping mechanism for a man then is to run away, because it's provoking the pain he felt when his mother rejected him due to her anger towards him. And because it's a scared little boy, as I said, you have to behave and act in a certain way to keep your mother on your side.
Yeah.
If you speak out of line, if you say something she doesn't like, if you express your truth and she doesn't like it, well, you're not going to do that again.
Yeah.
Because you need her on your side. So then men are living this life of fucking lies, and the lies are there to protect their true self. So they've lost touch with themselves completely.
And you're developing feminine behaviors. Because
Yeah.
you're not expressing yourself, you're not being dominant or assertive.
Yeah, well, again, you're being raised to be a man by a woman.
And that's so true, man. That's so
again,
true.
this is no fault of anyone.
Yeah.
But just the way society has played out over the years, the man left the home, went to the office or went to the building or went on the sites or wherever he had to go to provide for the family. The wife was then expected to stay at home, look after the kids. But when the man came home, he was fucking exhausted.
Yeah.
He himself has his own underlying traumas and pains from his childhood. He's not going to... Men of our generation, my father, maybe your fathers of that generation, just didn't have the ability to express their love and express themselves in a healthy way towards their children.
Yeah.
It just wasn't there because they weren't taught how to do it, or they went through a process where they were raised by hardened men. My grandfather, for example, his father, hardened men. They weren't sitting down talking about, oh, I'm having this struggle today and I don't know how to deal with it. It's like,
just bottled up.
Cop the fuck on, get back to work.
Exactly.
There's no place for emotions here. There's no place for feelings. So this trauma is obviously carried from generation to generation.
So we're like almost like one of the first generations to actually experience.
We have to break it.
Yeah,
because we have the information. We know how to do it.
And
if you're not fucking doing it now, then it's going to be your fault. Yeah. We can look back at our fathers, grandfathers, and say, like, in reality, it wasn't their fault.
It's almost understandable.
Because they didn't have the information, didn't have the resources, didn't have the capability, the skills to be able to really heal their trauma and pain and become these these healthier individuals that created healthier children. We have all that now, and if you're not taking action, well, it's your fault. Yeah. It'll be your fault if your child carries the trauma from generations onto the next generation. That's your fault.
Definitely. And just going back to the point about that client that you had that was dealing with his partner that was dealing with the postnatal depression and being aggressive and angry towards him. How did he cope it? Did he face it? Or
yeah, well,
I know it's pretty long, but like, you could summarize.
Well, basically, it was about changing his perspective on when she gets angry.
Okay.
I say, when she gets angry, don't see it as a problem, see it as an opportunity.
And and especially for women, they want the expression of love the whole time. Yeah. So even if she's annoyed or whatever it might be that's going on in her world, she wants her man to stand masculine and demonstrate love to her, to make her feel comforted, to make her feel safe and wanted. It's so important just to understand that.
It has to go back to the man as well. So like this is all going back to serving yourself first. And obviously, as you know, I'm a big advocate for morning routine and creating that space in the day to bring some peace to yourself so you can deal with the chaos that life brings. Yeah. So it was really going back to the foundations for him as well in terms of, look, you need to process this pain. You need to go back to your childhood. You need to change those stories. You need to see your mother as not your mother, but as a scared little girl who grew up in a woman's body, and she's still that person today, and have that level of empathy and compassion for her and love. And forgive her for that, and then forgive yourself for what you did or didn't do in the situation because you didn't know any better. And so that was a process. And again, the morning routine, and that was about setting the foundation for him to then deal with the building blocks of his relationship with his woman, with his wife. Yeah. And I remember he came on a call a few weeks afterwards or whatever, and he was like, "Oh man, like when she gets annoyed now," I'm like, "Oh, great! This is an opportunity for me to step up
almost
now."
Build a skill set around it.
It's like, "Oh wow, okay, this is another chance for me to demonstrate my strength and give that love."
Yeah.
And when you do that at home and you embrace that fucking hardship of a relationship and the emotions of a woman, and you know you can do that, man. When you leave the house, you're fucking unstoppable. And this guy has gone on to he sent me a photo a few weeks ago. He's won this award in his business. He's starting his own new business that he was too afraid to do as well. All this fear-based approach. Now he's like, fuck it. I'm going in because I can do it. So, and it all started from the foundations of, again, healing his own childhood trauma, and then just understanding how that's been transferred onto his wife, and then being the supportive, the strong man for her, and then seeing her change, and how he's able to withstand that and stand up and create that change.
I love that, man.
Demonstrate love.
Absolutely love that.
And then takes it out of his home place, and he again is transferred into his work and his
business,
career.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Purpose.
How I often view it as well with the masculine and the feminine is like a man is like the shore. He's like that rock on the shore, and she is the waves crashing with all her emotions that she's feeling constantly. And you're just that rock solid, like that guy ended up becoming. Yeah. He became that rock for his woman at home, and that's incredible. And then he went on, obviously, to make the businesses. That's what a story that is, man. I want to read you just a quote from The Way of the Superior Man by Davide Dieda, because it kind of relates to how men should view criticism, whether it's from a man or from a woman, right? So it goes like this. A man's capacity to receive another man's direct criticism is a measure of his capacity to receive masculine energy. If he doesn't have a good relationship to masculine energy, example, his father, then he will act like a woman and be hurt or defensive rather than make use of other men's criticism. And that is a great example that you pulled up there, obviously, with the man and his partner. Just with that example there alone, when I read that quote, I was like, fuck.
And fuck, man, I was that guy for a long time.
Yeah.
Mr. Sensitive, yeah.
Sensitive, exactly. I know, man, I remember being younger, I was exactly the same. Yeah. You build thicker...
And a nice guy.
Nice guy, oh, Jesus. You won't touch on a nice guy, though.
Nice guys
nice guys are the worst guys.
The nice guys are nasty.
They've no spine.
They've developed a wishbone where a backbone should be.
Trying to please everyone. What a difficult life that is.
I wish you would like me.
Internally as well, you're eating away yourself. You're like, I know I'm trying to please everyone so they get along with me, or however you're playing it. It's like, deep down, you're lacking that integrity.
Yeah, but you're lying all the
time. You're lying to yourself as well.
Yeah, and this is every time you lie to yourself.
That's a very kind of feminine way to be as well.
You eat up your self-esteem. Yeah. I mean, and it's something I've been discussing as well with the men that I work with. Like, imagine that you have a friend and he tells you tomorrow morning he's going to show up in the gym and he's going to meet you there and we're going to get a fucking great workout in, and no, let's fucking do it. You turn up in the gym and he's not there. You call him up. Where are you? I forgot. I can't do it today. He tells you, next day I'm going to be there. No, fuck, this is it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And next day comes, he's not there. But he promised you on third day he's going to show up. Are you going to fucking believe him? No, you're not. You're going, no, this guy's fucking taking the piss. He's not serious. But men are doing that to themselves every fucking day.
You can't keep promises.
Broken promises.
That's one way to kill your confidence as well.
The anxiety you feel today come from the broken promises of yesterday.
That's so well said, man. It's very, very true. Listen, we've covered disempowering habits to such an extent I didn't think we would.
How long do we have?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know how long we have. But anyway, I want to touch on kind of empowering habits and probably related into testosterone as well, because like I said before we got going, Gavin, you're a man that embodies the work he does, and I absolutely love it, whether it's the cold water dips, to the gym sessions, to the journaling in the morning. Let's talk about empowering habits that men can do to make them feel more masculine. Anyone's come off the top of your head? We just touch on the gym.
Yeah, well, the gym is an obvious one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's somewhere where, I mean, that was probably a constant in my life from an early age. So
nice.
Reflecting back in my earlier years, and as a kid, my uncle was actually big into bodybuilding, and I still remember whatever age it was, 11, 12, and he was wearing this like denim jacket with the sleeves cut off, like, pure old school. Yeah. And I just remember him flexing his biceps once, and I was like, fuck, that's
so impressive,
amazing. And I was like, I want some of that. And like, I was a boy who felt weak, who felt inadequate, very sensitive, got pushed around a lot. So eventually found my way into karate and martial arts. That was part of it, but then got involved in weights and weight training and building that strong body. But also that has a knock-on effect with life as well, because
of course it does. Strong body, strong mind.
Yeah,
I know a great man that wrote a book about it.
Strong life. Yeah. The thing with the gym is you're going there and you're taking on something difficult. Not only that, but you're going in there every single session, every single week, and you're working to progress towards getting stronger, getting the adding a few more kg to your bench press or,
Yeah.
or the weights you're lifting. You're doing a little bit more every single week, and then you get to week number 4 or even week number 2 or week number 4, week number 6. You reflect back and go, you're lifting whatever 80 kg for 10 reps in a bench press, and you go, wow, only like 6 weeks ago I was only doing 60 kg. Well, I'm getting stronger. Like I'm actually capable of a lot more than I think.
Yeah.
And then you take that confidence, you take that level of capability with you outside the gym doors, and you go, okay, what else can I take
It's
on
a
here?
catalyst for improving your life.
Yeah.
And I just think what a great way to start is developing your physique, because what it demonstrates is it ends up feeding into the characteristics of the man that you become.
Yeah.
Your ability to work hard, your ability to be disciplined, your ability to show up day after day.
You
your
have to make a commitment.
your perseverance, your persistence, your willingness to grow. I just think it's the most incredible thing. And to work in your body, there's obviously a famous quote, I think it's from Socrates, it's like, it's a shame to not see the capacity or the capability of what you could become. And man, I just think for attraction as well, like women find men that are in great shape attractive. That's going to boost your confidence as well.
But
your,
but
your
there
assertiveness,
is
your presence as
there's
well.
too much emphasis on the physical though, I think, as well. I mean, that's a huge part of it in terms
Oh, it
of
is.
you look great in the t-shirt and you can carry yourself better and you've got the bigger pecs, but how all of this training has a knock-on effect with your mental health is huge, because as I mentioned, you're taking on difficulty and hardship in that gym every single day. Like most of us, I don't know how you feel, you may be a little bit different, but some days I go in there, I don't want to be there.
Of course, I get that all the time.
I'm going, like, and I go early in the morning, I'm going, I could have skipped the gym today, but again, it's that commitment, it's that discipline,
And
it's that trust aspect.
Yeah, very well
It's like
said.
I committed to showing up today. I committed to going to the gym today.
Yeah.
And I'm going to follow through. Every time you break that trust, it eats into your self-esteem, because you deem yourself then as somebody who's not capable to stick to their own word.
Exactly.
And that eats away something something inside you.
Oh, guaranteed it does. And I was going to say, it kills your momentum as well. Because when you
momentum
get a good
shut down.
gym session in, and look, even if you didn't feel up for it, or even if it was a mediocre session, at least you showed up again.
Yeah.
At least you've done something. You've got proof of work. You got proof of the evidence of becoming a great man.
And then people see it differently, because as you mentioned,
of course,
when you see someone in great shape, you know that that's somebody that has discipline, who has the willingness to commit to something difficult, who can follow through in it, who can be consistent,
that you can rely on.
Because
they can rely on themselves.
And I think this is the part that women find attractive, perhaps even more so than the big biceps. I know you've got lovely biceps. You know what I mean? It's like it's you're carrying that aura of capability and confidence.
I love that, man. I love that. But you're also possessing a body that can provide and protect, and that's what a woman wants. They want protection.
Big too. Yeah, there is the primal part.
The primal element of being a masculine man is, having a physique that a woman looks and goes, okay, I know in him he can take care of me. Yeah. Just by looking at it.
Well, a woman wants to know that you can protect her.
Exactly.
And
this way you can't have weak men.
Yes.
Like, it's not virtuous to be weak. You've got to be strong and capable. They're the two things that go into it. But the mentality aspect you mentioned there as well, like, it's not just for your physical health, it's for your psychological health.
Yeah, it's huge.
And it's the whole aspect, and I want to touch on this with you as well, is like the delayed gratification.
Yeah.
You go into the gym, you're in the middle of the workout, you do your warm-up, you're in the middle of the workout, it doesn't feel good. It's not meant to feel good either. It's meant to feel like a challenge. You can't grow and develop if everything just feels easy and it's not hard. You go through the pain and then you get the pleasure after. But delayed gratification is just such an important fundamental element of going to the gym, and not to expect results straight away, but I just love the feeling of working out.
But it's also there are hormonal changes there.
Massively.
So like
my voice breaks.
Endorphins are like, that's a feel-good
hormone.
Yeah. I mean, that's very real.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling right now and you feel whatever, lethargic, fatigue, you feel like your mental health is struggling, man, start moving.
Start moving your body.
You're going to release some fucking healthy hormones there that may inspire you then to do something more.
Exactly.
And this is, again, I think that's why it's an important place to start, because of the knock-on effect of exercise. It's not just about looking good, but it's the feelings, and it's not just about feeling good, but it's about how you can then transmute those feelings into life outside the gym.
Exactly.
You come home, you're a different fucking man.
You can do more work as well. You're way more capable.
You're a different man when you arrive home from the gym than someone that didn't go to the gym. And it doesn't have to be the gym as well. Some days you
just movement.
Just move.
We're talking about moving your body.
Yeah.
And exertion as well, and struggle, and just the gym is just number one for me.
You show up for yourself first. You're in a better position to show up for everyone else.
There you go. Very well said. I love the way you kind of encapsulate that there. Anyway, we've got one of them. We've got one of them down. So these are obviously empowering habits. The gym being one. For you, what would be next in line? I know obviously gym's one of them, but what's another empowering habit that you doing on a daily basis from your own experience?
I love the cold sea. So
I love the cold sea as well.
that is a place
That's so much harder than going to the gym.
That's a place I fucking hate and a place I fucking love. So
Yeah.
I hate it before I go in, and I love it as I'm coming out.
Yeah.
Or maybe even not, because you're fucking shivering
It's
for
so
half an hour
freezing,
afterwards. But yeah, that's something actually, the cold sea dipping for me happened back in 2020. It was around that COVID time, and I found myself slipping back into these bad habits again.
Dark habits.
Porn was starting to creep in. I was staying up later in the evening time. I was making easy decisions. I felt myself becoming more lethargic and fatigued and just out of balance. And now, having learned from previous experiences, I was able to catch it and say, oh, hang on a second, Gavin, something's not right here.
Yeah.
And you're waking up here at 9 o'clock in the morning? Come on, this has to stop.
Day's nearly over at that
This
stage.
has to stop, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm used to getting up very early in the morning before that. So I made a commitment. Now, this is COVID times, no gyms open, blah, 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 excuses, whatever. I just made a commitment that day or that morning. I said, I'm going to start just by doing one difficult thing every single morning from this day on. And that was it. Started going to the sea, I think it was around April time. And I made, again, a commitment that I'm going to keep this going every single morning. So by the time it gets to the winter time, when it's fucking shitty, cold, stormy, horrible weather, dark mornings, I'll still be doing it because it will be a habit by then. So again, it's having that intention, or maybe just having a look at the bigger picture here in terms of understanding the implications of making those decisions today and how it's going to complement you in 3 months' time, 6 months' time. Because it was the summertime, or near the summertime. It was nice weather when I was going in, and I was still freezing because I was only starting off. But I could foresee the challenges ahead. I could foresee the dark mornings, the shitty weather, and I could foresee how much more difficult it will be around that time of year. But I said, if I can make this a habit now, it just becomes a norm then.
And what that does to your mind as well, man. Like, I think the sea is the epitome of building mental fortitude, because you've got this challenge in front of you, and it's way harder than just getting to the gym, because you know you're going to suffer. Like, when you go into that cold water, the first 2 or 3 minutes are like, fuck, your body's feeling it. It's uncomfortable. You want to get out. But you withstand the cold and you kind of adapt, and then it almost gets like you just kind of you adapt to it. But I just think from a mental standpoint, what that does for you, you have this challenge in front of you, and you're like, it's here. I acknowledge it's here. And like, I fucking, when I get down to sea, man, I'm like looking at it going, I can't make this any easier, but I'm delaying the process of getting in. And it's like, as soon as you've done it, the euphoric feeling that you get post sea dip, and the rush of dopamine and the rush of endorphins and the alertness that you have in your body is like, why didn't I do this sooner? But it's like that. It's such a great high, but also sets you up well for other challenges that you face in your day-to-day living. Yeah, I often view it as like, you know, you've got the stress of day-to-day life, and we all experience stress in day-to-day life, and you got the stress of the sea. And if you can view the stress of the sea as like having the ability to do 500 push-ups, and then normal day-to-day living as doing 200 push-ups, normal day-to-day living will do fuck all to you, because you're so well equipped and capable of handling stress because you've gone through something that's much greater than what you'll face in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that, man.
That's resilience, isn't it?
That's resilience.
Yeah.
Resilience, exactly. Very stoic virtue as well.
I think it's understanding, like what we're talking about here is understanding that every single choice you make is going to have a consequence. Every single choice you make. Yeah. So if you want to watch porn and stay up until 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, feel good in the short term. Tomorrow morning, next day, consequences aren't going to be great.
Exactly.
If you go to bed early, 10 a.m., get up at 6 a.m., jump in the sea, well, you've had a great night's sleep for a start, and you've also had a great fucking empowering start to the day, which then has a great consequence for the day. You feel more empowered, you feel stronger, you feel like, fuck, I did that today.
You're top of your shit, that's what you're doing. Yeah.
So I'm like big into understanding consequences of changes. I'm big into easy decision versus the right decision. Yeah. And we always fucking know what the right decision is, but we get lured into that temptation, we get lured into the pleasure, but we also get lured in there because there's a pain that comes to the surface often. that we want to ignore. So, I mean, as I mentioned, porn is not the problem, it's the pain beneath the porn.
Yeah.
That pain comes to the surface, you go, I'm not going to deal with that.
Mm.
I'm going to use a soother. Obviously, it's usually at the beginning anyway, it's subconscious. You're not even conscious of it until you stop and ask, okay, what is this? Where is this coming from? Why do I continue to veer into this habit when I'm in this place where I'm alone?
Mm.
Oh, because I was alone as a child and it created an abandonment wound, and that's why I feel so anxious and scared now, and I need porn to distract me and soothe me and comfort me. All right. Oh, fuck. Okay, now I'm getting some answers. And we have this, like I mentioned earlier, men are so fucking good at criticizing themselves and shaming themselves for the decisions they make instead of exploring it.
Yeah.
And this is what I was caught there for a long time in terms of the porn. I was working with a psychologist at the time, and I would break the pattern now and again, and I'd go at him and be almost like having a confession with a priest. It's like, yeah, I watched porn this week, and you could feel it. Like I was basically just beating myself up for having this setback or having fallen back into this habit. And he's like, man, like this is already coming from a broken place, and you going back and beating yourself up over that choice is causing more pain in your life.
Causing more shame.
So you need to instead see this as something you can explore and try to make sense of it, because it's coming from a pain in the past that you need to heal. Yeah. And that's something as well for a lot of, because there is probably, especially around the porn thing, like there's a lot of language, a lot of content out there where they say, oh, you're weak because you watch porn. You're pathetic as a man if you're wanking every single day. It's like, hang on a second. These guys are already in pain.
Yeah.
They don't need more. They don't need more shame.
Yeah.
Instead, these guys need to. And again, that just shuts them out. It shuts them down. It's like, well, I'm not going to tell people I'm watching porn because it makes me. People think I'm weak. People think I'm pathetic. It's like, no, you're in pain, brother. You've got pain from your childhood that you need to heal, so that you can become the man.
If porn wasn't an option and you were still experiencing that pain, what do you think the behavior would be?
Where did all the men go in the previous generation? to the fucking pub?
Just the pub. You think the pub would be the outlet?
And work addiction, I think.
So it's always escapism of some sort to get away from doing the eternal work.
That's quite a blanket statement, but like every single person out there has trauma. Yeah. Our dads had trauma, 100%. Grandfathers, but it was perhaps transferred into something. And maybe you could look at it and say, oh well, they took their pain and they transferred into work and they provided for the family, and that gave them a sense of whatever belonging and masculinity and strength. And it's like, well, hang on a second, it's the source. It's always the source. Is this being driven from pain, insecurity? Are they doing this because they're avoiding time alone? Are they afraid to just be? Can they not take a day off? This is something else that I was actually asked about today, about burnout and working and the guilt that we feel, and the guilt that I still sometimes feel when I decide to take some time out from work or take a day off. It's still there. So imagine how my dad felt if I'm feeling that, and I've done all this work to try and become a better man, and there's still this little bit of chaos inside me. My dad worked all the time, and I fucking love my dad, and he's an amazing man, and so thankful for everything he's done for me.
That's beautiful.
He's a masculine man in his own way, but man, that guy, he fucking worked 7 days a week, every single day. And I have to reflect back on that and like say, was that really necessary? Yeah. Like, was that coming from a place of love and joy or purpose, or was that coming from a place of pain or insecurity, or I have to do so I can become, instead of I am so I will do? You know what I mean? Yeah.
So, no, I get you. And it's also, I was going to say, it's admirable of your dad to work so much because he's a provider. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what he's doing for his family, which is, but then also, is it too much where, but then might be covering something else up?
There's,
many ways of looking at it.
I think work becomes a mistress for a lot of men in that generation.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Just get away from the family.
Gets away from family, gets away from wife, gets away from himself. And as I said,
doesn't have to think or acknowledge what's actually going on.
But then, it becomes all too consuming.
Yeah. No,
work becomes life instead of work just being part of life. It's just something I do, but this is not my life. This is not who I am and all I am. But for a lot of men, I think of that generation, I can only speak about my experience. I think it just became all too consuming because as I said, 100% there's trauma.
Yeah. And is that balance, balance within, understanding yourself and, having your work and everything else that goes on, does that only come when you develop self-awareness to reflect back on what's happened previously in your life and then integrate it into your present life?
Yeah, from the lessons, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, from like the awareness came from not having awareness. The strength came from being weak. The reason that I can sit here today and tell you about how to become a stronger man or how to become more resilient is because I spent a long time not being the fucking strong man, not being resilient, being weak, feeling inadequate, having low self-esteem.
Yeah.
I've been there, I've lived through it, and I've managed to work my way to cultivate these things in my life. It's also very important, and this is very important, and I mentioned it today on Instagram. It's also very important that I'm not here today sitting on a fucking pedestal saying I am all this and I am bulletproof now as a man. Nothing fucking affects me. I still have struggles, and I'm going through a process at the moment where I have to make some changes in my life that are difficult to make, and it comes with struggle. It also comes with the exposure of more of my underlying insecurities and pain, and I'm going, okay, let's fucking have it. But I'm saying now, let's fucking have it. Instead of 10 years ago, it would be, oh no, I don't want this. I'm gonna run away from this into porn. I'm gonna run away from this into alcohol. It's like, no, okay, this is what it is. This is my pain now. This is the insecurity that this is bringing up in me. Right, let's fucking go.
A man faces his problems.
Yeah, but I'm just putting that out there because, and Jerry Hussey on my own podcast touched on it yesterday, that like men are out there, or people out there advocating the fact that they're healed and they're these bulletproof men and so masculine, so strong, and nothing fucking affects them. It's like bullshit, and that is disconnecting them from people who actually need to connect with them in order to help them get up to the same level.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to be so real and so honest with my content. It doesn't land well with a lot of people a lot of the times. That's fine. You're not ready to receive that, but there's people that need to hear it. And it's for probably quite some time, it was about likes, it was about comments, it was it was going back to me. Oh, I'll put this content out. It sounds great. It sounds masculine. It sounds strong. And yeah, I know it's going to really blow up, or going to get a lot of likes and comments. And then I sit back now and I go, did I really fucking believe that? Or did I just put that out there because I knew the algorithm would fucking love it? I knew people would love it. Was it really true? But now I'm in a position where I could put a video up there, and I've probably done so in the last couple of days, where it'll just bomb. It'll couple of hundred views. But I can sit back and I can stand back and say, well, I was speaking the truth there.
Yeah, it's more about the message.
That's genuine, that's authentic. And if only 500 people or whatever watched it, great.
Yeah.
Great, because there's someone within that 500 people that really needed to hear that truth.
And you're going to help someone.
Instead of, oh, here's 7 ways to become the fucking masculine man. Here's how you become a bulletproof man. All this fancy language, hooks, and all this nonsense is out there. There's a place for that. There's a time for that too. But, and for me, at this point in my life, it's about seeking the truth, the deep, deep underlying truth. And I believe I'm only getting to the core of that now.
What is the truth for you? Would there be a definition for what the truth is?
The truth is that the pain is not healed, and I am not living my life from a place of complete authenticity and truth, that I still bullshit myself a lot of the time, and that bullshit is coming from some way of my inner child trying to protect himself from the rejection of a woman.
Okay.
That's truth. And until you live from a place of truth, you're not fucking free. So this whole journey, this whole process that I'm on now, is about becoming free. And I've done a lot of work in the last a fucking lot of work in the last decade to get to this point where I have the strength, I have the resilience, I have the fucking fire in my belly now to say, okay, this is what I've been preparing for. Getting to the real deep, dark core of myself.
Yeah.
And living from a place of absolute fucking truth.
And you were going to showcase what this truth would be for you, or is this?
Man, I'll put it all out there, yeah. But when the time is right,
when the time is right,
when I'll trust my intuition on this and all the rest of it. But there's changes that need to be made. I'm still holding on to things from the past. I need to let it go. I'm still sometimes trying to protect myself, or my inner child is still trying to protect himself. So this is what I'm trying to communicate here in terms of, like, I'm not fucking done. I'm not complete. I'm not healed, and neither are you, and neither will you be. Well, I can't speak for the future, but and all these people out there who are putting themselves on these fucking pedestals are just completely disconnected themselves from people who actually need the truth. Because if you see this person who seems perfect and on a pedestal, you don't want to tell them your fucking struggles.
Yeah.
Because you feel like a sense of shame and judgment around it.
Relate to you as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just where I'm at the moment.
Interesting.
It's not something that I'm phased about, not something I'm anxious about. It's something I'm ready for now, because I've done all the fucking anxiety and all that nonsense in the past. I'm like, okay, this is what's been presented. This is what I need to deal with.
Yeah. And I feel like being vulnerable, and especially online, it opens a door to let other people in. It shows them, obviously, Gavin.
Well, that's been it, man. I mean,
it. Yeah.
I mean, all I've done really is tell my own stories, and it's removed the barrier for the men to reach out to me.
And people can relate to you as well.
But it's interesting you bring up vulnerability, because that's something else that a lot of men struggle with, because when they expressed their vulnerabilities in the past, it was attacked. They were attacked, and I come from a childhood where I was bullied. So I was expressing some sort of vulnerability, whatever. I was sensitive, or whatever, confused, or didn't have great confidence or self-esteem, and my vulnerabilities were attacked. You go, okay, it's fucking wrong for me to be vulnerable. I need to fucking lock this up and hide it away. And then over time I became fucking hyper masculine, and I just shut away. I put empathy, I put compassion, I put sympathy, I put love towards others, I put expressing love, I put all that away. That's no. I display that, I'm gonna get fucked. So I need to put myself in a situation where I'm strong, tough, resilient. Don't fuck with me, don't mess with me.
The macho man.
Yeah. And then you swing too far to one side, and then you become disconnected with your relationships, because there's a time and a place to be masculine. There's a time and a place to be feminine.
Feminine, yeah. And that's the essence of a masculine man, is to know when.
Yeah.
And when to be masculine, when to be feminine. Because obviously, like, vulnerability would be more considered a feminine trait.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's no harm a man being vulnerable once it's to the right person.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got a 14-year-old daughter, and she's a woman. And if she's coming to me with an issue or a deep struggle, and I go, come on, get out there and get the fuck on with it. Like, stop complaining. It's like, hang on a second.
Yeah.
This is not what she needs right now. She needs you to listen. She needs you to care. She needs you to be empathetic. And you do that, and she feels stronger, and she feels more resilient within herself.
And connected with you as well. Yeah.
And she knows that, okay, no matter what happens here, Dad's got my back. I can always lean on Dad. He'll always listen to me. He'll never judge me. He'll never push me to do something that I don't feel comfortable to do. Although I do encourage her to do a lot of things, but we talk through it. I don't go, you got to do this. It's like, well, okay, what are the consequences of you doing this versus the consequences of you not doing it? Consequences again. She's big into her singing. She's big into creative arts and that thing. And she wrote her own song, and she performed it in her school, which is amazing. But that came from, and I'm not dismissing her, of course, but that came from encouragement from me. Like, she wouldn't have done that only for I said, you can do this. And I'm proud of, and even if you don't do it, or it doesn't matter if you don't do it, or how you do, it doesn't matter, because I am proud of who you are, not for what you do.
And kids need that, man. Kids need
and
that.
this is self-esteem.
You just touched on it. I was just going to say that. You just took my line, Gavin.
Sorry, man.
I seen a video from Gary Vee before, and there was a woman that approached him. He's like, what can I do for my kid? And he said, the most important thing you can do is boost their self-esteem. That's all you can do. And like you're doing. And what a feeling it must be to be proud of
Oh, it's huge,
Proud of your
man.
daughter.
Yeah,
I'd say it's
yeah,
huge.
massive, yeah.
I'd say it's listen, we need to get back. We've got one more empowering habit for men. We've touched on being in the gym, the physical mastery, you know, developing your presence with your body. We touched on C-dips. One more. You got one more in the locker, Gav. I know you do. Man, I haven't got through half this stuff.
Oh yeah, man. we're gonna be here all night. One more empowering
Something
habit.
you do on a regular basis that you feel empowered.
Well, I mean, it's sort of the opposite of victimhood in terms of what I mentioned earlier about a disempowering habit.
Yeah.
Is about taking ownership and responsibility for fucking everything in your life. Now I could put other habits in there, like do fucking yoga or stretch or blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You know, let's get a little bit deeper here because we love deep conversations.
Yeah, we do.
And talk about taking ownership and responsibility for fucking everything you do.
Yeah.
Because no matter what you do in your life, it starts with you.
Mm.
And if you're living your life and if you look at your life or you evaluate your life and there's areas of your life that are suffering, it's suffering because of you.
Yeah. And you're the one responsible. And I think, it, like you mentioned, it's a very disempowering state to give other people your responsibility of your own life. Because then you're casting away all your power. And your power as a man comes from, like you said, taking ownership and being responsible for what you have. And I think that's so important. I also think that's a transition of going from a boy to a man. Because a man understands, and we touch on problems and everyone's got problems, you got to face them problems. You got to be responsible for your problems. A boy, like we touched on already, wants to run away. He wants to cower away. But the problems only get bigger and bigger when you do that. So it's acknowledgement. And how have you developed more ownership of your own life? Has there been any ways of thinking or philosophies or anything in that regard?
Well, Stoicism found its way to me at one point. And the Daily Stoic, as I'm sure you're aware of, would have been a part of it. But yeah, I started reading books. When I started this whole process of development or healing, I just stumbled into books and I started reading these books and I didn't understand. I was so unaware that I didn't even know why I was reading these books and why they appealed to me so much. It's like, why am I so drawn towards this right now? I got curious about it and then I realized, oh man, you've got a lot of shit to deal with.
Yeah.
And The Obstacle is the Way, I think, was the first book I read
got that recently.
by Ryan Holiday. And so I started with Ryan Holiday and other books came afterwards. But books, podcasts, YouTube channels, all the rest of it, that's great. Gives you information. Even a therapist gives you information. You go to the therapist, oh, I'm having problems here and problems there. Life is so shit and she's pissing me off and I just feel angry all the time, and just unload this just fucking baggage of pain and grief or whatever it might be. And you leave the therapy or you put the book down, and you go out into the world and you just do the same shit again. So accountability is really fucking important for men.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that I advocate for the men I work with. It's you talk to me, but it doesn't finish there. That's only the start. When we talk, I'll be giving you some action points to apply into your life for the next few days. However, that will be merged with my accountability and support to make sure you get it done. And if you're struggling to get it done, I'll fucking help you with that too.
Yeah, of course.
So, because when you leave, it's mental masturbation otherwise. You just go in there, you unload your problems with the therapist, you read this book and you're inspired, but it's just fucking it's mental masturbation. You feel good, but nothing happens.
You touched on it there. Is the application and implementation that matters. And you just touched on Stoicism, which I love because how many thoughts do we have in a day? I think 60 to 80,000 thoughts we have in a day. Philosophy is, based on your ways of thinking. And Stoicism, I've came across those. I don't know what the first book was. Probably Daily Stoic or Discipline is Your Destiny. Them books are so influential. And the study of Stoicism, like, they were deep thinkers. And it's based all on the art of self-control, be a rational thinker, going into hardships, becoming more disciplined. And just even the four, you can help me go over them, but the four main kind of concepts of Stoicism is justice, wisdom, temperance, and justice, wisdom, temperance.
There's virtue in there, no?
Virtue is the traits. So virtue isn't one. Is virtue one of them? Justice, wisdom, temperance, and temperance is self-control. Justice, wisdom. Oh my God, I should know this. I should know it. virtue. Oh, virtue is one. Sorry, rationality, emotional balance. Oh, I can't think of it. Brain's going dead of me.
Oh, the caffeine's fucking worn out.
Caffeine's worn off,
shit.
man. I need more caffeine.
James is in trouble here.
I need more caffeine. But anyway,
it's fucking good shit.
Yeah, it is. It really is, and it has a big impact, on your life if you apply what you're learning.
I think it served the starvation of masculinity, though. And I think Stoicism comes under the umbrella of masculinity.
It does, definitely, yeah.
But at the same time, there's time to be stoic, and there's time to be more empathetic or compassionate.
To express emotion,
yeah.
So
I
think it comes down to awareness when to press what pedal.
Yeah.
Like for a man, express emotions to the right person, whether that's a fellow friend of yours or your missus or someone you share a close relationship with, and then know when to be stoic. Like I think there's nothing weaker than a man expressing emotion when it comes down to like anger or frustration or getting upset. It's just that's very unmanly.
Well, that's victimhood mentality.
Yeah,
feel sorry for me.
Exactly. You want the pity.
I think it's oh man, I have these conversations with my friends all the time, or with people all the time. Like, is it right for a man to cry in front of a woman?
Where would there be a correct situation? I mean, if someone passed away, that's understandable, but I don't think that would necessarily be a good thing. And the reason why I say that is because, like I mentioned earlier, you're the rock. You are that rock in her life.
You're still a rock, though.
And if you're still a rock. I think there's look, context is very important here.
Yes, very important.
Very much so. It depends what it is. But let's just say, flip it on its head, right? If you're crying all the time, then a woman's like, he's emotionally unstable.
That's not what I asked, though. Yeah.
Or yeah.
So you
I kind of flipped that too much on its head.
But you're right. Yeah, if you're just crying all the time and not doing anything about it, then she's not going to trust you. Trust breaks down in the relationship. That's going to fall apart. She then puts herself in a situation where she's becoming your mother.
Exactly.
No woman wants to become your mother, and that completely ruins the fucking intimacy in the relationship. And good luck to that. But I think a good woman does need to hold space for you whenever you do feel vulnerable. And I put it out there somewhere before where sometimes a man needs a kick in the fucking ass. Get up, get after it. Come on, cop yourself on. You can do better than this. And sometimes that will come from his woman, from his wife, because she wants him to do better, become a better man if she's a good woman and a good partner. But then sometimes a man just needs a woman to fucking hold him. Give him a hug. Say it's okay.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you.
And just to... It's probably the embracement of that feminine energy that men sometimes need to feel as well. And this sort of goes back to what I mentioned earlier about work and grind and push and grit and hustle. It's like, yeah, that's fucking great, but fuck me, man. Sometimes you just need to stop and just be.
And be, yeah.
But for a lot of men, there's so much guilt around that. And I'm speaking from a place where I struggle with it. I went on holidays this year for the first time, and I've been doing this. I've been on social media since 2004. Yeah, 10 years. For the first time in 10 years, I went on holiday, took the kids with me, and I said, I'm deleting all my social media apps for the week.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And no social media for a week. Man, it was the best fucking holiday ever. I was connected. I was relaxed. I was present. I was on my phone. I was still checking in with guys or whatever I needed to do. And then the default would be to go check Instagram or TikTok, and the app wasn't there. So like, okay, I don't actually need to be on my phone. Put the phone down, look up. Oh, kids are in the pool or whatever. Let's go and play.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is a breath of fresh air. So this was a huge turning point for me, and I think it's just reflective of what I've mentioned about masculinity. And it's grit, it's hustle, it's hardship. Yeah, you fuck it. That needs to be done at times. Yeah, for sure. Work, provide, protect. But sometimes you just need to fucking relax
and feel the emotion that's going on.
Yeah, hold your woman or have her hold you, and just embrace that. It's so replenishing for a man. I mean, and this is going back to the sustainability and avoiding burnout, and like you're here on a mission for the next whatever it might be 30, 40, 50, 60 years of your life. If you're just grinding and hustling and fucking pushing all the time, well, you're going to be more stressed. Your energy is going to be drained on a more frequent basis. You're going to break down. And what good are you then to this mission and to your purpose in life? So you need to just sometimes stop, replenish with feminine energy even.
Feminine energy, yeah.
Doesn't even have to be a woman, but feminine energy. Go for a massage or you tell me, because I don't do this. Long walks on the beach, hand in hand. Like some guys are rolling their fucking eyes now and listening to us, but there is this. Yeah,
that's needed. Yeah, 100%. I agree.
And as I said, that's a replenishment of energy.
Yeah.
And then you feel revitalized, you feel replenished, but you also then feel so fucking supported and connected to your woman.
Connected, yeah.
These are all fulfilling.
Being in a relationship or having a woman that's present is a beautiful thing, and I think a masculine man definitely needs that. A
masculine man can only attract that type of woman, though, which brings it back to you.
Yeah. And you'll get a more feminine woman when you're more deep in your masculine as well.
Yeah.
And just going back to your point, just about expressing emotion in front of your partner, I do think there's a place for it. I didn't mean to cut that off.
No, it's all good. But what you said is, like, you don't be a victim all the time.
Exactly. You don't want to. The only point I'm trying to make, if you're always, whether it's getting upset in front of your woman, she just can't depend on a man that's emotionally unstable, and that's where you need to be stoic. Whatever problems you might have, I think sometimes it's more important to express it with your male friends than to burden her, because you want to create you should create no problems, should I say, for your woman. You want to be deep. She doesn't need to be stressed, because when she's not stressed, she's deeper in her feminine. And when you are coming with problems or stress to her, she's like, what am I meant to do? But you're the man.
Yeah.
But
you just don't pass ownership over to her. Say, look,
yes.
I'm going through this difficulty.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to take responsibility for it. But I just want you to know. I want to be honest with you, but I'm taking action on this. And maybe it's a matter of going to your friends and you tell them your struggles. And I've got a couple of good friends, fortunate enough, and they call you out in your bullshit and say, right, man, you got to fucking do something about this. You've got to take action.
Masculine criticism.
This is like the kick in the ass. I fucking love it, man, because it fucking inspires me to make a move.
It's great to have friends like that, Gavin. Because a lot of guys like, you're fine. Like, they won't be fucking straight with you. You'd rather have masculine friends that you respect and admire. They're like, listen, man, you're kind of out of line there. Or maybe you're talking about something going on in your life and you're like, I seem to want to go this path. They're like, that's not a good choice, man.
Well, because they also want you to become better.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not just...
Well, they're the sort of friends you want to have around.
Yes.
A lot of people are just like...
No, don't do better because you make me look bad.
Yeah. Like, a lot of friendships I see nowadays, man, and this way a lot of loneliness is happening, is because people are friends, you could say, but their depth of the relationship is like, it's a mile wide and an inch deep. It is so shallow. People don't want to see you succeed. They don't want to be there for you. Like, I had a friend actually recently, man, just this very recent story, just about kind of friendship. And he put up a story. He put up like on a private story, like kind of the green circle. Something was going on in his life, but he put it up in a story, but it was him flexing in the mirror. I was like, this fucking fella's in great shape. So I texted him saying, man, you look amazing. You know what I mean? And then a day or two passed and I was thinking about that story, but he had something a bit more deeper. And I was like, everything all right, man? Just because he'd put something in the caption, I was like, everything okay? And something was up. And funny enough, I texted him, we met up 2 or 3 days later, and just he was going through a past relationship and something that came up, and he'd just not been himself for 5 or 6 days. And I was just thinking, in my own head, I was like, I want to reach out, I want to see if he's all right. I was like, man, did anyone reach out to you? Like, and not to make myself feel better about it, I was like, I was just curious. Did anyone reach out to ask how you were? No one reached out. And I was like, fuck. Imagine going through that shit by yourself. And this is why men need it. If you've got problems, you share them with other men, because we can, we help each other get through it.
Again, I know that place as well, because as I talk about my difficulties in the past, I was doing it all
by yourself.
By myself, yeah.
That's horrible.
More and more problems arise, yeah. Because you're lonelier.
Yeah.
You feel more shame because you think that there's something wrong with you, and everyone else is in a good place, and you don't want to burden them with your problems. And it actually came from that the same friend that I'm talking about is. So the whole porn thing for me came to a head whenever there was shit about me exposed on a webcam chat room. Long fucking story. But anyway, it was a fucking wake-up call. And my friend pulled me and he said, well, okay, what's this about? What's going on? And I just told him the whole story. And then he starts telling me about his situation and his difficulties in his life. I was like, oh, I didn't know this. Yeah. So it took my struggle for him then to remove the barrier to express his struggles. And sometimes that's the way it is, but... Yeah, you're right in what you say. Like, mile wide, inch deep. It's so fucking surface level. And again, it goes back to shame. But men are actually, like, not to dismiss the work that I do, but men are coming to me because they've no one else to talk to. They've no good friend to talk to about the difficulties of going through their life. They have to pay me money to talk to me about their problems. And
because they have no trust. I think this is a big thing as well. When you don't believe you've got friends out there, you're not going to express the difficulties that are going on in your life because you don't trust them. But if they're coming to you, they know you're an established coach, they know you're an authority in the space, they know they can confide and have confidence in you, they'll express what's going on in their life.
But it also goes back to that the last habit we mentioned about ownership and responsibility. If you fucking own your pain and own your problem, then you don't give a fuck. You'll tell anyone.
Yeah,
I'm telling you about some of my struggles today.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like but I'm taking ownership of it.
I think it shows a sign of confidence as well.
Yeah, but
like you're willing to do that. So you could shy away just as easy.
Yeah.
You could run away from it.
Yeah, but as you know, you can't outrun your pain.
Yeah. So I kind of like that one to encapsulate the empowering habits is take ownership. Very, very important. Gavin, I know we've been talking for a while. I want to finish on something that I feel like is important. We've kind of touched on it here and there. We'll give it like 10 minutes just to wrap it up. But the transition, which I think is very important, we touched on it before we came on air, from boy to man. There was a book you mentioned just a minute ago.
Iron John.
And I think this is something that is massively missing in this day and age, is the transition phase or initiation of going from boy to man. And it's very common in like African tribes or any sort of tribes around the world where the young boys, the men will section off, they will collect the young boys and they will basically teach them how to become a man. They will talk about their experiences as women. They would talk about having purpose and work in your life. They would talk about physical routines and habits and rituals they might have. They would advise young boys basically the transition of becoming a man. I definitely, not in Ireland that I know of anyway, have anything. I know there's more men's groups happening now, which is great to see, but I do not see that from a kind of a very informative age when you're like in your teenage years. This is when men are needed. The question I'm trying to ask is, the question I'm trying to get out is, how could we cultivate that more in... How could men of an older age cultivate that more for younger men? Is there a possibility of doing that? I know obviously the work you're doing, you might get some... I even seen in your story there about kind of... someone asked you about kind of teenagers and stuff.
Yeah.
But how could older men help younger men more in that transitional phase?
Well, I think what you touched on there in terms of the elders of the village taking the younger men away to teach them how to become a man is also done through their own demonstration of how they behave and how they act and live as a man.
Leading by example. So, yes, I was asked today about teenage boys to sort of work with them when they're a bit younger and, you know, avoid problems when they're older. I'm so immersed in the men's work at the moment that I just don't have the capacity to. I'd love to do it, but it'd be a whole different ball game, a whole different direction I have to go down. But I've got a lot of men coming to me. But what I've also added to that is that strong men build strong sons. So if I help the men who are fathers or becoming fathers, these fathers have sons, they demonstrate these strong characteristic masculine traits towards their sons. Their sons are then going to become stronger, more masculine, more resilient, all these good characteristics of these masculine traits.
Then, you know, the son's going to carry that with him. And the son then could inspire his friends who maybe lack some of this. So I often say this to the guys who go to my workshop, or any guy in general, like, never underestimate the impact that you have on the world. So if you go to a men's retreat, you go to a workshop, you even go and work with me, or you work with somebody else to help you become better, that has a huge knock-on effect with people in your whole life and potentially in the whole world. So because you get better, or you become stronger, you become more resilient, you start demonstrating these qualities, you're at home with your son sees this as a different energy, he's taking that on board, he's replicating your behaviors, your actions, and he takes that with him onto his teenage years, adulthood, onto his kids, their kids, and on it goes. But it's also understanding that the way you engage with people in your life, you leave them with something. Like every time that you're engaging with somebody, if you have a certain energy about you, not everyone's ready to receive it, but some people, like, they'll take something from you that will maybe inspire them, help them feel stronger, help them feel more significant, maybe just help them feel more loved. And they take that with them, and then they're talking to someone else, and they're carrying something from you, and it it's transferred over to someone that they meet. And all of this goes on and on and on. So, yes, there's 100% a niche or a gap in the market or something there where men can step in and say, all right, teenage boys, sign up to this. This is going to be an initiation process. We're going to help you become
like
a
an
man.
army. Imagine having an army base where you could help teenage boys. Because like around the age of kind of 15, 16, I feel like you do need a sense of direction, but you can be helped. Imagine learning masculine traits at a younger age. You develop better men, stronger men that would be more, more suited to take care of a family at a later stage, more able to take care of a woman because they've got the understanding from older men how it works in so many ways.
But it can also be done. Yeah, but there's definitely a place to step in and take them away and do all these difficult things that men need to do. Necessary things as well. I mean, holding the door open for a woman, having certain mannerisms about you as a man towards a woman relationship. Some women go, oh, I can open my own door. Fuck off. She's not the one.
Yeah.
She's not the one, buddy.
She's feminist, bro. She's feminist.
She's not the one. That's not your wife. Let her go. So yeah, but there's also there's men that can step in there. So for example, I found karate. I found boxing when I was in my teenage years, and that was some sort of initiation in terms of I'm going in the ring here. I'm fighting, and I'm taking on masculine traits, and I'm not thinking that during the time. And then I'm also seeing this older guy who has experience, who has been through fucking wars in the ring, who's been through the wars of life, and he's teaching me these skills and demonstrating these attributes to me, and I'm taking that on board.
That's a great point. So there is places you can go to actually develop the masculine traits.
But if, again, a lot of boys, as you know, and the reason you're probably bringing this up, is they don't have that role model, they don't have that initiation process, and then they find this initiation through their friends. Yeah. And their friends are just as fucking lost as they are. And then there they go, get lost in the fucking woods, drinking fucking buckfast and alcohol and meandering into meaningless, destructive behavior that then carries on throughout their teenage years and into their adulthood. And then
because that's the thing,
they wake up at 35 and they go, how the fuck did I get here? Who the fuck am I?
Yeah.
It's like, well,
and they're dark times then.
And I'm waking up if I'm a man, but I feel like a boy. It's like, well, that's because the boy never became a fucking man.
Yeah.
And a lot of my work has actually happened. That's the process. It's you need to reconnect with the boy, help him feel strong and significant and protected and loved. And when he feels strong and protected and loved, you feel like a fucking man. Like you're not being influenced by a pain of a child, because the child's in peace now. He's good. So there's this. I think it's quite masculine as well to be able to do that, to go back and be the masculine man that your child self needed, so you can become a more masculine man. So you go back today as your adult, strong, confident, resilient self, and you see your child self, and he's scared, he's vulnerable, he's afraid, doesn't feel protected, feels confused, and you go back there and in your mind's eye, or in your vision it, or you could look at a photo and you talk to him. Say, I know you're hurting, I know you're in pain, it's not your fault, but you're protected, you're safe, you're loved, and you're fucking strong, because you're going to survive this. I'm proof of it. And not just that, there's a shift that happens there. I've done it.
Wow. And
men have done it with me as well in their journey. And that just gives you something. You feel stronger.
Where did you do the inner child work? Gavin, was a particular place, or is it just talk therapy?
It's through my own, not even through talk therapy. It was probably my own exploration, my own doing. Yeah. Like I talked earlier about being completely porn free for 3 years, and it got to the point where I was in an environment that was very triggering for the porn, which is a hotel room, alone, peace, silence, nobody knows I'm here, I can do whatever the fuck I want, get away with it. But there was a subconscious pain that was driving that type of behavior, and I'd be sitting there, whatever, scrolling through my phone, and without even thinking, I'd be on a porn site. I'd be on it, I go, I'll just have a look, but you start having a look, and then you become more hungrier for it, and then off you go. And then I just stopped one evening, I had my phone in my hand, and I just allowed myself to feel whatever was coming up in that moment. And there was a sense of anxiety, there was a sense of fear, And I just ask, okay, what is this? Where is this? And I had been touching on inner child stuff before that, so I was starting to become aware of it. And so I closed my eyes and I tried to link the pain or the anxiety that I felt then to the first time that I felt it. And I brought it right back to when I was 3 years of age, where my parents went off and left me with my auntie because I wasn't allowed to go with them because I misbehaved in some way, and this was my punishment. But I felt so anxious, I felt so afraid, I felt abandoned, I felt so alone. And now I'm in this place where I'm alone. I feel this abandonment wound. It's like, oh fuck, this is what it is. I'm looking for comfort, looking for soothing, I'm looking for someone to protect me, I'm looking for connection.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I've got to talk to this kid. I've got to reframe this whole scenario again, so it's not a scenario that brings pain. It's a scenario that brings peace. It's like, you know, you can change the whole story.
Yeah.
In terms of, it's okay. Your parents are just gone. They're coming back. You're safe. They
you don't understand as a child.
Yeah, no, you don't understand it, and you blame yourself as a child as well. I think there's something wrong with you. And again, it's the difficulty then to, you know, this was going back to what I mentioned at the beginning. I expressed myself in some way that made my mum angry. So then I believed that expressing my true self was something that was going to cause pain and rejection. So I'm not going to do that. And the more I suppressed that, the more it then expressed itself through porn or through other avenues where I felt it was safe to do so. But of course, much destruction came from it. Yeah. So that was a turning point for me, yeah.
That's very deep, man. Just to, like you kind of touched on there, and I find it fascinating as well to go back to when you were that younger self and to have compassion for him then, to help him understand, because like I just touched on, when you're 3 or 4 years old, you don't know what the world is. You're trying to conceptualize emotions, thoughts, feelings.
Completely dependent on other people to keep you safe and protected. And when they leave, you're fucking vulnerable. Yeah.
And they cause wounds of some sort. Is that what they would be called?
Abandonment wounds.
Wounds. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
We probably all have them.
Yeah,
So,
to some degree, exactly.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, it's probably there and it's probably shown up in your life in some way. And
you're probably unconscious of it as well.
Unconscious, but it's again, it's all about. And I know Dan's touched on this before, and other people have, but it's making the subconscious conscious. Yeah. And that's what I did in that moment. It's like, okay, hang on a second. There's this subconscious pain coming up, and I consciously made the decision to try to explore it. And I went right back, and then I didn't want to watch porn because I was like, yeah, he's okay now. He's safe.
That's incredible.
It's not like, wow, light bulb moment, my life changed forever. Like, it still would come up now and again, but now I know, I feel anxious, I feel scared, I feel alone. It's little Gavin here looking for a hug, looking for protection, looking for safety, looking for love. It's like, okay, buddy, let's
come closer.
Let's look after you. And it's going back to what I mentioned in terms of that's quite a masculine thing to do, because you're delving into the pain here.
Yeah.
And
you're facing it, yeah.
And this is only 3 years ago. And 3 years ago, I'd be sitting here. I probably did sit here and talk to Dan, or was on a different podcast. I was definitely doing a podcast 3 years ago, and I'd be in a situation and going, yeah, I'm strong, I'm resilient, I'm this, I'm that, but there was still a little bit back here that I needed to deal with.
Yeah.
So it took, like, that was probably 7 years of healing and growing and progressing in some way, but it took 7 years to get to the point to realize that this is still something that I need to address. And it's, like I mentioned, in terms of where I am today and the next challenges that arrive, like that 7 years and the 10 years now, it gave me the strength, it gave me the resilience, it gave me the confidence to then give it back to 3-year-old Gavin, who felt so deprived of it at the time.
And to help other people with it as well.
Yeah.
Because of what you've gone through, you know, I'm sure there's many guys that come into you, and like you mentioned already on this podcast, that are going through something in their present day that they don't necessarily understand about themselves in the past. And you can shine a light on that, and you can go back in time, which is fascinating, because they're such informative years when you're that age, when you're that young, 3 or 4 years old. You know, it almost maps out the rest of your life and how you become as a person without even knowing about it.
Massive. Yeah.
And just touching on the inner child work, because it's quite interesting. How was it you came across? Like, I know in that moment when you're in that situation, you were like, you got out of your head and into your body, you felt the emotion. Was there any catalyst that got you on the journey of going down the inner child work? Or was it just like in that moment you related back to your 3-year-old self?
Well, I was beginning to understand inner child work, or I'd come across it in different platforms. Pat Dibley was talking about it an awful lot a few years ago, and I became curious about it. Like, any child stuff? That's interesting.
It's
Never
very
heard this
interesting,
before.
even the subject of it.
Yeah. So, but I never really, and again on reflection, I never really went there, and I know why, because it's a painful place to go.
Yeah, of course.
You go back there, and you're revisiting situations where you felt so scared, so alone, so confused, so anxious. You don't want to go back there again. And your subconscious's only role in your life is to keep you safe from harm.
Yeah.
And it doesn't know the fucking difference between the dangers of being faced with a bloodthirsty tiger and the pain of a past experience. So your subconscious goes, no, we don't want to go there. Pick up the phone, distract yourself, watch your porn, come on. Don't go back there, it's painful. Remember what happened before, come on, we don't experience this again. Your subconscious. So again, it's having the strength to say, no, hang on a second. I need to do this. If I want to become stronger, I want to become more honest, I want to live my life from further integrity, I've got to do this. And
you can't keep ignoring it.
Yeah. And probably the only thing I probably would change during those years is I would have brought in more support. I was doing a lot of this thing, all these things on my own. A lot of these things on my own. I had my psychologist now and again. I had my therapy. Had a mentor for a while, but it was very sporadic, and it was still quite disconnecting.
And what would that extra support would have been?
Accountability, man. Accountability, support.
Accountability to a therapist?
To anyone, a mentor, a coach, therapist, yeah. But therapists generally don't offer that level of accountability. It's just come in,
they see you,
unload your problems, see you later, give you a different perspective on things sometimes, which I'm not dismissing therapy. Big advocate for therapy, but it's what you do after the therapy session that really matters, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Therapy is great for change perspective and for healing and growing, and I still go and talk to therapists now and again just if I need to unload some stuff. But men need accountability, and this process is fucking hard. It's hard. As I said, it took me 7 years to just do that one part.
Yeah,
I had to go through 7 years of therapy and 7 years of growth and progress and books and whatever else to then have the strength to go back and heal this child that was still so real and so raw and living within me, who was so scared. But I would have fast tracked all that if I just had reached out to someone earlier and said,
this
I need more here. I need someone to really guide me through this process. And I'm at the stage now where I realize that. And as I mentioned, there's some changes that need to be made in my life, and I can foresee the challenges of the changes. And yesterday, I reached out to a new mentor. I said, right, we're doing 6 months. We're going for this.
Brilliant.
So,
do you mind me asking what type of mentor that was? Is it like
it's a very different approach this time. He is a specialist in neuro-linguistical programming. So
NLP, I've heard of it, yeah. Tony Robinson's big on that.
Yeah, so like changing old stories, breaking old patterns. And I've done a lot of this, but there's still something here that I need to address. And so it's deep diving stuff. It's like real soul fucking searching deep work, and something I probably wouldn't have been ready for 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but now I'm going, let's fucking dive in.
Time for action.
Yeah.
Time for action. I love it. Just to round this up, Gavin, because I know you've had a podcast earlier on as well. You're a man that's living true to his purpose right now. You're a man on a mission, I believe, helping other men. And you talk about it in your book as well, the importance of having a mission and purpose in life. How was it that you actually found your call and your mission to do what you're doing now?
The purpose found me through pain. As I briefly mentioned earlier, this whole addiction to porn led me down fucking very dark roads. And during that period of time when I was made redundant, that's when the porn addiction really began to spike, because that's when all the pain and insecurities were really brought to the surface. The first time in my life that I probably had time, which was at the time quite dangerous for me, because time and space and peace, which just brought all this chaos to the surface. And I was into porn any opportunity I found, and I found these webcam chat rooms, and that became porn addiction on a whole other level, because in this webcam chat rooms there's You're the performer. And you get validation, you get praise, you get fucking likes and comments like, whoa, this is fucking amazing. All these things that I was just fucking starved of at the time. As I mentioned earlier, I felt inadequate, felt like a bum, felt pathetic, and felt empty. These things filling me up. And so during that time when I was made redundant, this is where it brought me. And, you know, this was a dark place at the time. And sometime after that, I decided, okay, enough is enough. I need to step up. I need to be a man. I need to become, you know, the dad my daughter needs me to be. I need to take ownership, responsibility. Started to make changes, started to improve, started to learn, started to grow. But the past has a way of catching up with you sometimes. So a couple of years later, I was in the gym, had a missed call from a friend of mine who never calls me, and rang him back. I thought, fuck, why is this guy ringing me? Because he never rings me. He goes, Gavin, there's some sort of porn video of you, and like it's circulating on a porn site. He couldn't find the words, and I knew exactly what it was. And I go, oh fuck, just like a haze of fear, anxiety came over me. And what had happened was someone had taken recordings from the webcam chat rooms and put some sort of compilation together, put it on a porn site. This is 2 years later. Put it on a porn site. And now this thing was being circulated around my area, and people were reviewing it, people were seeing it. This is now at a time where my business was beginning to really excel. I was becoming better as a man. And all of a sudden, boom, pull you back down. So that was a hairy situation.
I can imagine, yeah.
At the time, I had a mentor. I was working with Phil Graham at the time, which I'm sure you're aware of. And Phil was a business mentor at the time. And he very quickly became a personal mentor because he's the only person I could really talk to or reach out about this. Yeah. And I wasn't even afraid to fucking tell him. I had to tell somebody. Yeah. He was the only person. I was so afraid that I didn't text him. I didn't ring him. I sent him an email. I said, I've got a porn addiction I didn't tell you about. And then he rang me, and then we worked through things together. And he told me on the second day, maybe, first or second day, he said, Gavin, you know what? Someday you're going to look at this and you're going to thank it for happening. I still remember those words. Yeah. And I was thinking, you're a fucking idiot, man. What are you on about? and 100% he was right. Because what I did a day or two afterwards is I made a decision. Because there was nothing I couldn't. Obviously, I took control of what I could in terms of take that shit off the internet. Again, this is the Stoicism nearly coming in. Take control of what you can, let go of the rest. Yeah, I got that stuff off the internet, but I was left with the consequences. Like my reputation was tarnished, I was exposed, and people's opinions of me changed very quickly. So, yeah, the decision. I was left with a decision. I said, okay, I can either be used by this experience, be used by this pain, and allowed to fuck up my life for the rest of my life, run away, hide away from it, go into a different job, just go off into the shadows, or I can use this experience and use this pain and turn into a purpose.
To recreate yourself.
Yeah. And so this was the turning point for me. Wow. When I went from online coach PT to becoming Ireland's #1 mentor and coach for men. That's when I started to flip it towards helping men, because I knew that there's men out here who have very similar struggles, who are hiding away in the darkness, afraid to expose their vulnerabilities or weaknesses. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to fucking start being honest and real and raw, because on reflection, as whatever humiliating and embarrassing as it was at the time, it was also extremely liberating because I had nothing to hide anymore. Yeah. It's like, yeah, what's the fucking matter what I do now? I mean, you've all fucking seen me in my element exposed, there, and I've been exposed. The truth is out there, so I didn't need to fucking hide anymore. So then I just went all in on social media with, I was raw, I was authentic, I was truthful, and then the door began to open with men coming in, and
that's incredible, man.
And that's really what's inspired me to write that book that you're reading.
Fascinating, man. So you used what you went through in regards to your addiction, and obviously 2 years later came out, but you flipped on its head, and then now you're known as Ireland's #1 men's coach. Yeah, that's incredible, man. And purpose. I love a man that's living true to his purpose, and David Dieda in that book, The Way to Superior Man, touches on that the whole time. A woman picks up and she feels if a man is living true to his purpose, and she never wants to be put first. It's always a man's purpose in his life that has to be number one. The same as your mission and the same as everything else. Gavin, we've been talking for a while. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. I've enjoyed this a lot and I've learned loads as well. But if anyone is looking to get in contact with you, where do they look?
Oh, Gavin Meenan everywhere.
On Instagram.
There's another Gavin Meenan. They're fucking pissed off. He has to put a number after if
he's not the number one men's coach in Ireland.
Gavin Meenan everywhere, yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. Been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely.
See you again. All the best.